Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big League Dream, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. And today we could be more excited because, well, we're together again as a family talking about baseball, but we're also reacting to yesterday's Major League Baseball trade deadline, deals that happened, deals that didn't happen. I know there were some big trades. They were supposed to go down that never went down. Big trades. Let's introduce the sons that are on the podcast today. If this is your first time joining the show, it is a dad and his three sons talking about the game that they love and just taking a chance on putting it out there. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, you know what? Let's talk about baseball and let's do it as a family as opposed to doing it, with all these experts that are out there, because there's expert talkers that love to talk about stuff, and we're just talking it as fans, educated fans, but also fans who just love the game. Let's talk to son number one. He's based in Charlotte, North Carolina. His name is Zach Gonzalez. He's a Mariners fan. I think they upgraded, right, Zach? How you doing over there?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I mean, considering the bats that were available, the Mariners get an A in my book at this deadline.
I think you might be grading them a little high. We'll talk about that later, but I'm glad you're excited because the Mariners could use more bats. They need to increase their offensive production without question. But we'll talk about the Mariners in a minute. Son number two is Zane Gonzalez. Zane's not here. He's son number three. Is Ty Gonzalez. He's sitting next to me. I get his name.
Sitting right next to you.
I got your name wrong already. That's why I'm the dad, right? It's Ty Gonzalez. He's based in Grand Rapids, Michigan, like I am. He is the Mets fan. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing awesome. We just got done with an awesome tour of LMCU ballpark and the Whitecaps' new clubhouse. It looks unreal.
It really does. I mean, we just got through that place, and fans, we're going to show that to you. We'll have a Big League Dreaming the podcast video, special video up fairly soon about what it looks like. We got to see Max Clark's locker. How about that?
Is crazy. Crazy. They don't even have enough room for all his swag, or as the kids say it now, drip. You might need two lockers.
Yeah. And then Kevin McGonigal, also a big prospect, is like two lockers over, right, from him. Yep. Mm-hmm. And he had boxes upon boxes. There was fan mail there. Yep. So we'll get to that video pretty soon. And I can't wait for Ty to put that video together and for you all to see it out there. Son number three is Zane Gonzalez. He's a Red Sox fan. He's based in South Bend, Indiana, but they're celebrating the birth of their child. And so are we. He's taking a little time off from the podcast, and rightly so, because he should take all the time he can to spend with that little one. So congratulations, Zane and Bailey, and we wish you nothing but the best. But like right now, we are at LMCU Ballpark, home of the West Michigan Whitecaps, the High A affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. And Zach and Ty, being at the ballpark is like, it makes everything better, right, Zach?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just those warm fuzzy feelings come back, especially on a beautiful day. Being at the ballpark, seeing the grass, seeing, kind of like that chatter, especially being like at a minor league stadium, you see grounds crew and people walk around, things like that. It's just a good feeling for sure.
Well, before we get into what went down for the Tigers, the Mets, the Mariners, the Red Sox, the teams that we kind of follow the most, really quick, Zach, the minor leaguers that were traded, right? Because there were a lot of minor leaguers that were included in these deals. These major league teams, the ones that feel they're still in contention, whether it's for a higher seed, winning their division, or making the wild card, they all had different objectives. But there were some decent names that got included in trades. What were some of the ones that you were interested or surprised to see, or not surprised to see?
Yeah, I think as far as like top prospects, I was really surprised that not many of them got traded. So, and I think it's a direct product of not a lot of the big names were traded, like we were kind of alluded to at the beginning of this. But I mean, I think there was only one top 100 prospect, Agustin Ramirez, traded from the Yankees over to the Marlins for Jazz Chisholm. There's a few guys that are a little bit closer, and the Mariners traded Aiden Smith over to Tampa for Randy Arozarena. But other than that, everybody kind of held on to their top prospects. It was kind of strange.
Yeah, it was really strange, and hopefully we might have a friend of ours, Rogelio Castillo, from the Minor League Baseball Report, who follows the Tigers. I watched his reaction podcast last night, and he was talking about how the Tigers didn't get enough in the Jack Flaherty trade, which is going to take a big arm that the Dodgers need right now as they're heading into the playoff stretch.
Yeah, they could have got a lot more for him because Dodgers, they're down pitchers too right now.
Yeah,
they need pitchers bad, so they could have probably got a lot more for what they did.
I think, and maybe this goes to what you were saying, Zach, a little bit. What you're maybe getting to is that not a lot of the big prospects went because some of the pieces didn't fall, right? Who was the other big pitcher? Tarek Skubal obviously was one that was named out there a lot. Who was the other big pitcher that did not get traded?
Garrett Crochet from the White Sox did not get traded. That was the other big pitcher. I know a lot of people thought Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would be traded from the Blue Jays, Bo Bichette possibly, even though he's injured right now. And the other one was Luis Robert from the White Sox. And I think maybe people were just kind of holding on to their top prospects, hoping in case they could get a guy like that. But yeah, it was kind of a bummer for the Tigers fans to only get that small return from Flaherty, especially when you see a guy like Yusei Kikuchi get traded to Houston and get Jake Bloss and Joey Loperfido and Will Wagner, Billy Wagner's kid, get traded. Three guys for Yusei Kikuchi, who's having nowhere near as good of a year as Flaherty has done this year. So yeah, I think just kind of seeing the value of what Kikuchi got, I think it was the day before, was definitely a bummer for Tigers fans.
Yeah, I think that was all of Rogelio's comments last night was like, we could have got more. And what is this Tiger team doing? What's Scott Harris doing? You know, it's always rebuild. We're not seeing anything come of this. You know, where does Spencer Torkelson fit into all of this?
When did they trade him?
Is he going to be a factor anywhere down the road? Hey, I'm looking at the Whitecap scoreboard right now. Are the Tigers playing the Mariners?
Yeah, they are.
Is that true, Zach?
No.
It must be an old.
It must be old, yeah.
I didn't know that. It says Detroit's playing at Seattle. Okay.
On the day that we're recording this, the Mariners are playing at Fenway Park, a day game right now. And then they're off on Thursday, and then they go back home to host the Phillies.
Okay. Must be an old, maybe the Whitecap's been on the road for a little bit of while. They just haven't changed it out.
Maybe they just put it up there.
But yeah.
You know what it is?
What's that?
I bet you their next homestand, that's what it'll be.
Probably, yeah.
It'll be that right there.
I think so. I think when I'm in North Carolina to visit you, Zach, I think that's when the Tigers do play Seattle, right?
Yeah, the Mariners go to Detroit, and then after that they go to Pittsburgh, I believe.
Yeah.
So they're already prepped.
They are prepped. Pittsburgh did pretty good in the trade deadline, right, Zach?
Hang on. I'm going to pull up the Mariners schedule for us right now so we can
get
get
this
it right.
settled. It seems like
Let's get this settled right now. So they play the Tigers at home next week, sorry. And then they host the Mets for the weekend, August 9th, 10th, 11th. And then they go to Detroit the following week, 13, 14, 15, and then at the Pirates 16, 17, 18.
Yeah. So so they're not far off, Ty.
Yeah, no.
They're actually planning ahead. The water sprinklers are on in the outfield. Zach, you know nothing about that. We've got people creating things all over the place. We just got to tour the new, not only the clubhouse, but the new club space above the clubhouse, where you're going to have like some incredible views of the ballpark. It's been a fun trip here at the ballpark at LMCU ballpark. But Ty, getting back to your point, the Tigers not getting enough, but maybe they did. I've run a couple different analyses where, they picked up this catcher and a shortstop.
And it looks like a pitcher too for Canna.
Pitcher for Canna. So I don't know if they upgraded a lot, but they didn't give up a lot. They gave up Flaherty, their number 2 pitcher, but. Yeah. But he was only under a 1-year contract, wasn't he, Zach?
Yeah. So, he was a free agent, so
he was being gone anyways.
He was going to be gone anyway. Which last year, remember, the whole Eduardo Rodriguez thing just blew up in our faces with the Tigers. So I think at least we got something out of the nothing. So I guess we ended up okay, semi okay. Okay, let's talk about your Mariners real quick, Zach. Why did they not go after Vladdy? I mean, Rosarina, if he comes back and rebounds and has a great, second half here, is going to be a brilliant move for the Mariners, but it seems like you guys are a few bats short still.
I think they did go after Vladdy. I think they went after him. They pursued him as hard as they could. And then I think Toronto just decided to not trade him. And that's kind of what I was talking about, like for the bats that were available, like Vladdy wasn't on the trade market this year. And when he's not available, like then you got to pivot and get other guys. And they got Randy Rosarena a few days early. And then they pivoted and they traded for Justin Turner, who is older. Surprised. I think 39. I'll have to check that.
Where did he come from? Giants? Was he on the Giants?
He was on the Blue Jays. So we got the Blue Jays first baseman. It just wasn't Vlad.
Yeah.
But I mean, Turner has like productive at bats, and I think he's number 2 in the league with pitches seen per plate appearance. And him and Randy Rosarena see a lot of pitches in addition to JP Crawford. And putting the ball in play is something that the Mariners lack. They're really high in strikeouts, so Turner's going to fit perfectly of just putting the ball in play. They had bases loaded the other day with 1 out, and he hit a little ground ball to first base, got 1 out, scored a run just by putting it in play and not by striking out like Cal Raleigh did the at bat before that. So I think he will be kind of like that leadership piece as well. He's won a World Series. He's gone to 9 consecutive postseasons. He's going to bring that to the clubhouse in addition to Randy Rosarena. The other pickup they had was Jimmy Garcia, who's a super good reliever from the Blue Jays. He's kind of like a setup guy. He became their closer after Romano was injured. Romano was their closer. But they also got rid of a couple guys. They traded away Ty France to Cincinnati, who was really holding them down. So now first base came available. You get Justin Turner, and they traded away a reliever since you got Jimmy Garcia and Ryan Stanek, who has been awful lately. They traded him for nothing over to the New York Mets.
Oh, your Mets, Ty. I mean, they're
on a hot streak.
They're still staying in it.
They are.
They're still staying in it. I don't know if they need to do. Did they do anything? Did the Mets do anything, Zach, to improve their rosters? I don't know if they did.
I don't know if they did. It says here they got a right-handed pitcher.
Who'd they pick up?
From the Marlins.
Oscar Barzoban from the Marlins. The Marlins unloaded tons. I mean, I think the Marlins team unloaded half their roster, it seems like.
Yeah, that was bad. The Mets got Jesse Winker.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And Paul Blackburn, and then Ryan Stanek.
Jesse Winker, he's good.
He wasn't good in Seattle, that's for sure. But you know what? When people leave Seattle,
Seattle players, they always end up being MVPs.
Yeah, just like Teoscar winning home run derbies.
I'm just glad the Mets are in it enough that they didn't have to trade Alonso. Because back in the beginning of June, before Grimace and Iglesias, it was looking like, I mean, you were sending me stuff, Zach, of the top teams that he was going to get traded to. So I'm glad they're turning it around enough to where they didn't trade him. And I'm still hopeful that he gets re-signed as a free agent at the end of this year back to the Mets. I don't know if he will or not, but the Mets they're hopeful. I mean, they're not totally out of it like they were a couple months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe Alonso getting through the trade deadline, maybe he signs a deal any day now. Now that he's secured and he's a Met, maybe they're like, okay, see, we held on to you like we said we would. Let's do this. And you might see a deal go down in the coming weeks here.
$400 million, 10 years.
I was glad to see the Tiger. I think Tiger fans were glad to see that Tarek Skubal is staying a Tiger. I mean, granted, we don't show signs of the rebuild being anywhere ready yet, but it's good to have an ace pitcher that will get you that one game, right? He's the guy that if you lost the first 2 games of the series, he's pitching game number 3, you're going to win that game. Or if you happen to split and he's pitching the 3rd game, you're going to win the series, right? He's guaranteed. Fans show up to see him pitch. If there's one player, they're going to come watch, buy tickets, and say, you know what, is Skubal pitching today? I'm going to go because something special might happen. And what they were going to ask for him, I think, when I started reading some of the speculation with Baltimore, right? And we're getting Jackson Holliday, and I'm thinking, okay, if we can land a huge haul, maybe if we can package Skubal with Baez and get rid of a huge salary, maybe I can see some justification in getting rid of him. But early indications were that the front office said, no, we're just throwing it out there. It's a possibility. He's not going anywhere. He has to be one of the top pitchers of the game. He's up Cy Young, candidate. And his stuff is just nasty. Have you watched him pitch in a while, Zach?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think the Tigers are hoping that Jackson Jobe could be that guy coming soon, too, next season.
Yeah, where's he at right now? Double-A?
Yes, he's in Double-A. He's not with those Whitecaps anymore. But, I mean, he's 2025 ETA. And if he can come up and him and Skubal are a strong 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation, and then 2026 you have Max Clark and this Tehran Liranzo that you got from the Jack Flaherty trade to play first base, since you guys Tigers have struggled at first base recently, right, Dad? You can have Liranzo play first base, and then you got some young core to work with there.
Yeah. Who knows where this kid's going to do, the catcher. He'll probably convert to the corners, but I don't know if his power is good enough to play corners, but we'll see what happens with him. Didn't we see the Dylan Dingler bobblehead in the locker room?
Yeah.
So, there's a chance he might get called up, and he's having a decent season down in Toledo. Is he in Toledo? Or he's in Toledo.
Yeah.
And he's having a decent season. He's showing some power, and they're bringing him along just the right way. So yeah, first base is a mess right now. I mean, Canna was getting most of the innings at first base, but now it's just a rotation. I do like this. There's this other kid, Zach, I think you told me about him, this Kevin McGonigal that came up with Max Clark, and he's going to get overshadowed a little bit because Max Clark is such how do you put it, a personality, right? I mean, he's one of those players who walks in the ballpark, commands attention, all eyes are fixed on him, and it's kind of weird to watch him, but he handles himself really well. Yeah. Ty and I've been impressed so far watching him here in really West Michigan. But I think McGonigal, I came early to watch batting practice that first day they were up with the Whitecaps, and just smooth hands, smooth bat, nothing, all effortless. Things you'd see, right, Zach, every day when you're at AAA level. You can tell when these players have that extra ability that others don't, because everything just comes so easy. It's so smooth. It's not, aren't exerting a lot of effort. You're like, how can they get that velocity, right? They don't even look like they're throwing that hard, but all of a sudden, boom, it's on top of you. So, and that's how both these players are. McGonigal, I don't know if where he's going to be long term, but he could be a solid player to any team, really, in the major leagues down the road. And he's still young. He's just a kid.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens
there.
Yeah,
I'm really high on McGonigal for sure. He's a little gamer. He's a smaller guy, smaller lefty, just like Max Clark. I think Max Clark's only like 6 foot. McGonigal's probably 5'10". And I think they're going to try to play him at shortstop as much as possible until they have to kick him over to second base. I think him and Clark are just going to go up the ladder together, and they're just going to go each level. They're going to get promoted together. They're going to be roommates. They're going to try to get McGonigal to kind of stay at that Max Clark level, elevate his game, be around him as much as possible. I think McGonigal is going to be a really good fit for the Tigers in the future. Liranzo, you talking about power, Dad? This dude leads minors in exit velocity. I mean, he swings and misses a good bit, but some of the home runs he hits, man, are insane. I mean, of course, once you move off of the catching position, it's really hard to go back to catcher. Ty, you can probably relate to that. But so they're going to try to catch him as long as possible. But I think he's your everyday first baseman in the years to come.
Yeah, if he keeps progressing, you're right. I mean, I think he has the potential to do that. I read one analysis where they thought he was the best player that they made the trade. So he was the best player he is the player that they think will have an incredible career. So the Tigers could have lucked out. And even though they didn't seem like they got a lot on them paper, in the long run, it may turn out fine. So we'll find out for sure. All right. Any other last things you want to add, Zach, about any part of the last day of the Major League trade deadline? I know there's still some things that'll happen. We got a lot of baseball left to play, but do you think the teams that set themselves up okay?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a pretty good deadline. It's kind of strange that now that there's two extra teams that make the playoffs with the new format that they implemented a few years ago. There's so many teams still in the hunt, so there's so many buyers. So like it's definitely a seller's market because everybody wants to go out and add a bat, add an arm, add a big reliever, things like that. So prices are really high. I wish we could have got like at least one blockbuster deal. Like there was that really cool three-way trade where the White Sox got totally screwed and got like nothing out of that for trading Eric Fetty and like all this stuff.
Right.
So like, a three-way trade is pretty cool to see and see how it shakes out in the future. But yeah, kind of missing like that one really big kind of star to get moved. I mean, you could say that Randy Arozarena is one of the bigger stars that did get traded at the end of the day. Isaac Paredes was probably the best hitter that got traded from the Rays over to the north side of Chicago. Yep. But yeah, I would have loved to see a Luis Robert, a Garrett Crochet, a Vlad, something crazy happen, even if it was Scooball, just like a big name arm that just came out of nowhere where you're like, what? That guy was on the block. But we got a lot of good, I guess, kind of like minor additions across the league. So a lot of movement. I mean, now with social media, it's so fun to track everything and MLB Network. But yeah, all in all, it was a good deadline for sure.
All right. Ty, anything you want to say to wrap things up other than you can't wait to get out here to LMC Ballpark to see some more Max Clark, right?
Yeah. I know the trade deadline was nothing like last year.
Nothing like last year.
When the Mets were getting rid of everyone. Verlander and Scherzer and a whole bunch of guys. Canna.
Yeah.
So it was nothing like last year.
I wish Seattle would have got Canna last year. He would have fit in good in Seattle.
Well, we did get to see him play.
In Milwaukee. Sure did.
That's right. That's right. Seems like there was something else happening in Milwaukee. Was there another player we watched that has done something since then? Oh, I know. The guy that got married to Vanessa Hudgens.
Oh, yeah. What's his name?
Yeah.
I don't know. Some pitcher.
Vanessa Hudgens.
Tucker, right?
Yeah, Tucker. That's right.
Cole Tucker. And then he signed with Seattle in the offseason, and then they released him.
Yeah, he's with the Angels now, right?
I don't know. Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, they released him. They said, hey, Tucker, we want you to stick around and be one of our coaches, be one of our hitting coaches in the Seattle. Stay in the organization. We like you a lot. And he was like, nah, I'm out. And then like a week later, he's taking at bats for the Angels in the bigs.
You want him to coach?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they offered him a job, and he's like, nah. And then he goes to the poor organization of LA, and he's in the show.
That's funny.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us here on Big League Dream, the podcast. As you can see, a dad and his son is just talking about the game they love. We're excited. We love the minor leagues. We love the prospects coming up. We spend a lot of time talking about them, but we also love our favorite teams. If you are a fan of the Tigers, the Mariners, the Red Sox, the Mets, then you have a home here with us. If you're just a fan of Major League Baseball altogether, you definitely have a home with us. You guys love the story. Real quick before we wrap up, we're going to get the Tigers back on our Xfinity package.
Really?
Yes. So Comcast and Bally Sports were in a dispute. We lost them, I think, May 1st. Boom, they were gone. The Tigers were actually playing pretty well at the time, and we were a little bummed about that. I want to find out their record since they've been off Bally with Comcast, because it's been terrible, right?
Yeah.
It's also helped us not care.
Once.
Yeah. We're like, well, whatever. We'll just listen to the radio or watch it. And your mom, my wife, said something pretty funny the other day. Her mom's like, aren't you so excited to have the Tigers back on? You'll be able to watch. I can't believe you guys didn't like cut your service and get something else so you could watch the Tigers every night. And, your mom's like, There are other games on. We were just watching whatever was on MLB Network or whatever game was being played or Apple TV or whatever was on. We're fine.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, that's mom for you. Just turn on TV, MLB Network, something will be on.
Yep, that's right. That's mom for you.
There you go. All right. Ty, why don't you fill in everyone in where they can get more information about our podcast?
Yeah, you can follow us on TikTok at Big League Dreaming. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at BLD Pod. That's at BLD POD. And of course on YouTube, Big League Dreaming the podcast, and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Big League Dreaming the podcast. We'll see you next Saturday at 9 a.m.
Take care, everyone. Bye.